WJAY 98.3 FM, also heard at 1280 AM. WJAY
98.3 FM, 1280 AM, WJAY.
Our time stands is 8:30. Gonna switch over to Studio B and say good morning to you, Brother Michael Jenkins.
Good morning to you, Tater, and good morning to everyone out there. What a wonderful, beautiful, cloudy, about to be rainy morning we're having. But it's beautiful. Good morning, Mr. Latron White, and one of my little basketball players, Matt Baker. What's up, Matt? How'd your team do last night, Matt? You know, I was thinking as we are approaching this Marion and Mullins showdown, and the two teams seem to be going in opposite directions right now. Mullins is unbeaten, and Marion is, they won one game so far. I think they lost to Latta, they lost to Lakeview, they lost to West Florence. So they're 1-3 right now. And the reason why I was thinking about the whole Mullins and Marion rivalry is because I want to look back and see who had done what over the last, say, 10 years or so. And good morning, Mr. Marcus Weeks. How are you today? And it wasn't as bad as some might think. I mean, it's in the last 14 meetings between the two teams, Marion has won 8 times, Mullins has won 5. And going back to 2010 season, I hope I don't have this thing right. I don't have this wrong. But okay, in 2010, Mullins won 14-0. 2011, Marion won 40-7. 2012, 24-6 win for Mullins, and they won the next year too. 2013, 38-8. So that's 3 and 4 years. In 2014, Marion won 22-14. And they won the next 2 years too, 44-30 in 15 and 48-46 in 16. 2017, Orc strike back 37-7. The next year, 2018, 52-34. I think I better stop here because I'm not 100% sure where my head was when I was writing this stuff down. You know, wins and losses after the scores, but I could have gotten a little out of whack there. But at any rate, we're looking at 8-5 for the last 14 years. Mullins had work to do last night, and it wasn't easy. Good morning, Mr. Jalen Eady. In fact, it was very difficult. Latta has proven to be very stingy defensively, and Mullins has as well. Last night, there they were, both being stingy. Third quarter, deep into the third quarter, no score. Finally, there was a block punt by Mullins, which resulted in the ball being scooped up. I don't know who the player was. If anybody does, I'd like to mention them. But ball was scooped up, kid ran in for a touchdown. Ball game. Nobody else sniffed the score after that. So congratulations to the Auctioneers, who are now unbeaten after 4 games. I don't remember the last time that happened. I remember one time for sure that it happened. That's when all 3 Mullins football teams were undefeated. That was back, I think, 96, 97 season or around that time. Good morning, Ms. Johnson. How are you today? But Latta's offense, I mean, they scored what? 7 against Marion and nothing last night. And it's not because they don't have pieces. They do have pieces. 97, Marcus said. I knew somebody would know. That was a great year. In fact, I went down to Loris to watch the middle school complete the undefeated season. It was a great year for Mullins. Mullins football at that time was top of at the top of their game. But back to Latta. They got this kid number 1 who's a beast. But they really couldn't get him unleashed last night. They ran the ball almost every time. And the results were just, sometimes he, got a few yards, other times he didn't. But you can see that he was an explosion waiting to happen, but it never quite happened last night as Mullins' defense was all over the place. Led by Lonnie Austin. I got to mention Lonnie this morning. He is a defensive stalwart for Mullins. He's on the basketball team too. Doesn't look like a basketball player, but can play. I'm talking about basketball now. He's more of a football body type guy. But as far as basketball goes, he can play. So Lonnie Austin was all over the place last night, man. Just knocking people and putting them down and everything. I loved it. Let's take a look at Mullins' schedule going forward. Because right now, they hadn't played any conference games yet. So now we need to be thinking about playoffs and look at the possibilities of Mullins getting in the playoff. Because if you don't get in the playoffs, sheesh, you can't really say you had a good season. Because not almost everybody. But there's the 6-0 final last night in the ladder. And to date, Mullins has knocked off Hemingway. That was easy, 48-0. They nipped Lakeview in a 2-parter. One game was played on Friday night, and it didn't end, suspended until Monday. Lakeview was leading and looked like they were going to win the game. Not going to happen. Mullins comes back 22-21 over Lakeview. They handled Green C 30-6. I went down there last week and saw some of that. Last night, of course, 6-0 over Latta. And now going forward, we're looking at Atlantic Collegiate Academy will be coming to Mullins on the 20th. That's next week. And then the rivalry game with Marion. That game will take place on the 27th, and that will be at Marion. Lake City. Now, when I looked at Mullins' schedule early on, I was saying, wow, how many of these games can they actually win? They didn't win any games last year. So I was wondering, looking at this schedule, well, this schedule is going to be tough. Mullins might not be able to, but they're unbeaten right now. And going into a game against a team, Lake City, that's not that good, that are beatable. That game is on the 4th, and that's followed by a trip to Manning. Let me warn everyone going out to Manning, and I don't want to badmouth Manning folk, but they've been known to do a little cheating down there. If you go down to Manning and the clock goes out and you happen to be winning, you're in trouble. You probably won't get out of there with a win. Anyway, looking at some of the other games, East Clarendon is going to be a toughie for them. King Street should not be. So, looking at this conference schedule, starting with ACA, by the way, everyone is asking me, oh, you think Mullins going to beat Marion this year? I ain't answered, but I tell you what, they're all telling me, Mullins and Marion, oh, I think that Mullins is going to beat Marion this year. And it's quite possible. The teams are not that far apart, even though Marion has been taking more lumps. But when a rivalry game happens, you just never know. But right now, I could see Mullins winning I could see them winning at least 3 of these conference games, maybe more. Because ACA is not that good. You know what Marion's got this year. They're struggling. Lake City's struggling. Don't know about Manning. East Clarendon is going to be a tough one. And King Street is really struggling. So Mullins has got a very good chance to get themselves in the playoffs and make some noise. The Mullins fans are excited. And I love seeing this because they've been down for a couple of years. Football season has not been good in Mullins over the last several years. I think the last sign of Mullins doing something in football was that when they were playing down in Creek Bridge and they lost that heartbreaker on the last second play. That was devastating. Did I ever tell you all about that night? Jimmy and I were doing the game on the radio. We were broadcasting the game live. So Jimmy says, okay, Mike, the game was just about over. You know, it was precious few moments left. So he says, I'm going to go on now to the little boys' room and I'll meet you downstairs. So he left me up there to wrap up. Then it got crazy. The turnaround and the events that led up to Mullins losing that playoff game was just unbelievable. It's still hard to believe that it actually happened. Let's take a look at Marion for a minute. People are saying that Marion's big problem is that they're so young. They got a lot of seniors and juniors on that team, folks. I would say that when you add up the juniors and seniors, it's probably more than the underclassmen, or at least equal to it. I don't think Marion's problem is youth as much as it is inexperience. And I think that has a lot to do with, and it may not, with the JV programs and not having one for a number of years now. You cannot have a consistent program if you don't have feeders. Now, Marion has been good for all these 4, 5, 6 years here because they had a bunch of talent on that team, a bunch of studs from start to finish. Those kids are gone now. But it looks like the kids that came up behind there were not developed to the point where they could step right in and keep the ball rolling. They scored their first offensive touchdown the other night in Dillon. And Dillon's a tough place to play any years. But when you go in there and you have a inexperienced team, when you're sort of rebuilding, Dillon ain't the place to be. Nobody should be scheduling Dillon when they're in a rebuilding year. But who knows? Maybe these decisions were made before, and they kind of just rolled into it. But anyway, they took on the Nasty Cats. They got soundly beaten. Their offense scored for the first time this season. The defense played okay. But when your offense is 3 and outs, 4 and outs, turnovers or whatever, it doesn't give your defense a chance to rest. And with Dillon, you need all the rest you can get and all the troops you can get. But they didn't do that well in Dillon the other night, as they got soundly beaten by the Nasty Cats. Let's take a look at Marion's schedule here, what they got going, to see what the possibilities are of them possibly being a playoff team. Sebastian Page, congratulations, buddy. I saw that thing on Facebook. You getting big, man. You the only dude that knows a bigger basketball junkie than me. Maybe your boy Anthony. He's up there too. Boy. Y'all funny. But I love you guys for that reason. Excuse me. Marion started their season in Lakeview, and I did attend that one. And I left at halftime because it was pretty much over then. 42-0, Lakeview won that one. They got their first win, nipping Ladder 8-7. And now I understand better why they beat Ladder, because Ladder doesn't score. I mean, they got pieces to score, but they haven't quite put it together yet. I think that at some point, because I was told that Ladder has a young football team, they could be a problem going forward, say next year. But right now, they're hard-pressed to find points from anywhere. West Florence was Marion's next game. That didn't go very well, 47-0. And, of course, the Dillon game was 48-7. So what does Marion have left? Okay, they could get off to Schneid on the 20th when they travel to King Street, because I said King Street might be the welcome wagon this year in the conference. After that, they're at home against Mullins. And this game means everything to Marion the way things are going now. If they were to be able to beat Mullins in a year where they're, 1-3 and the prospects are low, that would be a big win. But Mullins I've seen them a number of times this year as well. They're good. They're better much better than they had been, and they seem to be getting better every game I see them. So we'll see what happens. After the Mullins game, Marion will host ACA, Atlantic Collegiate Academy, and then they are going on the road against Lake City. Lake City is not that good either. That could be a win right there for Marion. It could be. It depends on how they develop in the next couple of weeks, and then in that off week to prepare themselves for the second half of this season. After Lake City, Marion will host perennial rival from the old days, Region 638, Manning Monarchs come to town. And then, no, they don't come to town. Yes, they do come to town. And then East Clarendon comes to Marion as well. So Marion they got a couple of tough games here if these teams are as good as they may have looked so far. I expect Manning to be decent. I'm pretty sure East Clarendon is pretty good. ACA being an academy, you never know what they're going to bring to the table. I know they had some early struggles, but Naeem McFadden, Taylor was just talking about you, man. He's on here. Why you ain't say hello to my buddy, man, when you're out there eating? Come on, man. You know Taylor. Let's see, defense. Okay, so that's it for Marion coming up. Their numbers are not good. Offensive numbers are just tragic. And until you learn to get some points on the board, it's going to be tough. Let's take a look at. Let's do some scores. And then I want to get back and talk about Dylan a little bit more. And I want to get back to that at some point. Okay, scores from last night. Off in this week. In this week 3, like y'all calling it. I ain't calling it no week 3, man. This is week 4. Just stop. Unless somebody can explain to me why there's a week 0. Why is there a week 0? Are games being played? So why is it 0? Why isn't it 1? I won't let this go. Okay, Lawrence Lions are a team to watch this year. I've been watching their scores over the last couple of weeks. They're beating everybody up. And last night they beat up North Myrtle Beach 41-14. Lawrence and Dillon is going to be a game that you might want to check out. I also think Marlboro County and Dillon is also going to be a game to watch. West Florence versus Wilson, not good. West Florence 41, Wilson Tigers 0. Yeah, that's a tough one to take. Goose Creek, I decided to pull some of my low country folks into the equation with my score stream. And Goose Creek, Berkeley, those schools, I wanted to, announce their scores every week. Kind of like biased since I'm kind of like down from that way. Yeah. So Goose Creek was 27-12 over Beaufort. Irmo, Carolina Forest has been taking them to the channel. Irmo 55-7 over Carolina Forest. Darlington started out good. I think they dropped the last 2. They got hammered by Chirral last night, 35-13. Mullins 6, Latta 0. Marlboro County Bulldogs still rolling. Conway Tigers not rolling. Like they're rolling off the face of the earth almost. 40-16 Marlboro County over Conway. Back in the day, Marlboro County and Conway used to be a thing. But now Conway has fallen on hard times. I guess when you got all those teams being built, all those schools being built all around you, it's going to suck some of the kids away from you and to them. And I think that's what happened. That's what's happened down there in the Conway, Carolina Forest area, because Carolina Forest has not been a help to them, for sure. Hannah Pamplico played Lee Central. Lee Central got a 39-25 victory over HP. Sumter, Fighting Gamecocks, over in-county rival Crestwood 35-14. Ridgeview and Camden. Camden might be the team to beat this year in that 4A. They got Ridgeview 43-26 last night. And this is Marion and Dillon from Thursday night, 48-7. Dillon. Ainer knocked off Green Sea 50-16. Hartsville Red Foxes over Rock Hill, 49-30. Wild Gators all over Scotch Branch, 41-14. And Georgetown is an interesting team because they've not been good for so long. I almost can't remember when they were good. It's been that long. But they got a win over Carvers Bay this week, in-county rival. So, congrats to Georgetown getting a win. Fort Dorchester and South Florence. South Florence has picked themselves off of the deck to knock off Fort Dorchester 49-14. Lake City got beat by Lamar 21-14. Berkeley over Ashley. West Ashley 22-0. Burke beat Hemingway 26-0. McBee over Buford 56-20. Timberland got Kingstree 28-6. Again, Kingstree, you got to be thinking of them as a W. I mean, I don't think they've beaten anybody this year, and they haven't looked good losing. So maybe Marion and Mullins could do a little something and get one of those conference wins. Oh, that's a phone call. All right. So let me look at Dillon real quick here. You got to be impressed with Dillon, man. Every year. You can like him or you can don't like him. But I'll tell you one thing about Dillon fans that I do like. I don't think I've ever heard a Dillon fan brag. Even in the midst of all this football success that they've been having over the years. I got friends from over there that I talk to. And even they're not bragging. They expect certain things. And they usually get it. Because Dillon usually wins 10 games every year. Okay. Dillon started the season against Lamar, beat them 38-6. Beat Wilson 30. Wait a minute. Let me make sure I got it wrong. Yeah. They beat Wilson, says here, 31-13. Is this right? Okay. Let's see. No, this is not right. This is totally not right. At any rate, Dillon right now is doing extremely well, and I expect that they will continue to do that. They got some tough games coming up, including Loris and Marlboro County. Those teams will probably pose the biggest challenge for them this year in the conference. So it's something about being over there. It's something about the atmosphere. One thing I don't like about going to Dillon games, especially when they're scoring a lot of touchdowns, that cannon fire that's being let off back there, those fireworks. If you are not used to it and you're at a Dillon game for the first time, and you happen to be looking in the other direction after they score, away from the fireworks, it could scare you. I'm telling you. It really could scare you. I have a gentleman, John Nichols. He posted something this week, and I want to use it today. He posted, instead of the statewide poll, we have a PD area poll, and it's being run by PDSC High School Sports page. And it just lists, the local teams. So 3A, Dillon is ranked number 1, followed by Marlboro County. Get this, followed by Lord. Now, all these tough games that Dillon has coming up are all teams ranked directly behind them. Marlboro County is 2, Loris is 3, and Ainer is 4. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle those teams that are coming up on their schedule. Dillon's got some players. I want to mention a couple of those players, but let's see, Marlboro County. All right. Let's see who's next. Okay. Single A. PD area rankings. Top ranked Lakeview Wildgators, followed by Johnsonville. And you look at these top three teams here, and in the past, these were the powers around. These were the single A powers around here. Lakeview won multiple state championships. Johnsonville has won, and you know what Lamar has done. They're 1, 2, and 3 right now in the PD area SC High School League PD rankings. Hannah Pamplico is ranked 4, followed by Mac B. That's where they get the good peaches from. Latta is 6, but they're probably going to drop now because then Carvers Bay got beat too. So who knows? Maybe Latta will stay where they are. Carvers Bay is 7. Lee Central is ranked 8. Scotch Branch is 9. Hemingway. How can Hemingway be ranked when they ain't won no games? Anyway, it's none of my business. Okay. Now, our 4A brethren shapes up like this. Camden is ranked number 1 in the PD, followed by South Florence, Hartsville, Darlington. Wait a minute. Hold on. What's Lower Richland doing in here? What is Lower Richland doing in here? In the PD area rankings. I don't get it. But anyway, Lower Richland is 5, followed by Crestwood. Wilson Tigers are 7. Lakewood, who's not won a game, is 8. So I guess they're listing everybody, whether they won any games or not, because they have to have a certain amount on the list. I don't know. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. 2A. And that poll is topped by Andrews. Andrews is first, followed by Andrew Jackson at 2. Chesterfield is at 3. Mullins. And by the way, Mullins is ranked 17th in the state in 2A as well. Just throw that out there. Mullins is 4. East Clarendon is 5. Central is 6. Followed by Manning, Cheraw, Lake City, Marion, King Street, Atlantic Collegiate. So Atlantic Collegiate is 12th in this poll. They're winless. So this might be a good time that they're coming into Mullins because they ain't won no games yet. So Mullins might be able to shock these boys next week. And when Marion plays them, they might have a shot too. This is a new school, a new football program. You know, they're just figuring it out. So I don't think there's any big. But then when you talk about academies, you kind of expect them to ramp up right away, since they have resources that most of us don't. I mean, they are basically, in some cases, a sports program school built for that reason, almost primarily. So you don't really expect them to, out of the box, be like bad. But I think in a couple of weeks we're going to be wishing. Hey, look at this. Here's a media poll for 4A. This is for statewide, and you got West Side as number 1. And you know didn't they win last year? I think they won last year. They're number 1, followed by South Point. Daniel is ranked number 3, and everyone is a little bit scared of them. I heard people talking about them. Camden is ranked number 4. We pretty much know what they are. Great Collegiate, the team that was so despised, the school that was so despised for winning all those state championships in basketball and stuff, they got kicked upstairs to 4A. From 2A to 4A, that's a huge jump. Apparently they're holding their own after 2 games. They're 1-1. May River is ranked 6, followed by Wren, Richland Northeast, Seneca, South Florence is 10. You know, last weekend, everyone was all souped up about about the cousins meeting on the football field, or at least their teams meeting on the football field. TJ Sanders and Squirt, his cousin Squirt. TJ played outstanding. TJ seems to be really focused on next level stuff, folks. I mean, I look at what he's doing out there on the field, and I know that you've seen it too. He is everywhere out there. I mean, he had four tackles in the game, and I think 3 of them were solos. But at any rate, if he keeps working the way he does, and we keep praying, chances are he'll get a shot one day at the NFL. I mean, you know where he came from. He came from Marion, and he was a guy who was a basketball guy primarily, a great basketball player. One of the best I've ever seen at Marion High School. Definitely one of the best big men. But we'll stay tuned to that. Keep checking him out. Keep checking out. See when Squirt gets in the game and some others around here. But that's all I got for now. And I'll be back next week with more. Hope you join me then. Have a great week. Later.